Hi everybody, this is Anthony O'Flynn coming to you live from Sunshine Coast here in Australia. And this topic of the ringing in the ears is one that I've noticed in the last 1 to 2 years has actually become really showing up on other people's radar in the awakening process more and more. So tonight I'm going to discuss what that is from the understanding of the path of Tantra, and this is something that is much more profound than what people would understand from simply a physical phenomenon. So I've been working with this ringing in the ears. Let's start with that expression first, for more than 20 years in meditation. So I have a lot of experience in the understanding of this, of what it means from an esoteric perspective, and the potential for transformation from using this technique to amplify the beneficial resonance that this ringing in the ears creates. So I've noticed the conversation around this really in terms of what I call pseudo-spirituality is really incomplete, with so much of the knowledge of the ancient wisdom fragmented in the conversation and today's spiritual landscape. And the expression that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing really summarizes this, because if the teachings that people are getting are fragmented, if they are distorted, then that's going to show up in their practices, that's going to show up in the implementation of the technique, and it's ultimately going to show up in the effects, which can mean that people who are practicing these techniques who are not being initiated properly will get inferior results. That's guaranteed. It's basically cause and effect. It's from the perspective of causality. So this is also amplified by people today with their branding and marketing, wanting to put their own spin on things to make it sound as if they've made this self-discovery. Well, I can tell you this ringing in the ears has been used in meditation by yogis and written down clearly in the ancient texts, Garanda Samhita, Shiva Samhita, Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It's going back thousands of years, so this is nothing new. What is happening is that people are actually starting to experience this more and more, which is actually a very beneficial thing. It's a positive thing. Now, I know that the medical explanation for this would actually be that this is tinnitus. I'm not going to give an explanation from a medical point of view. What I'm offering here tonight is not medical advice, but I will give the explanation, at least an example from what someone who actually has some medical experience in this field, what they told me. So what we would call this ringing in the ears from the yogic perspective is what's called nada, N-A-D-A, the mystical sounds of the heart, the mystical sounds, which are subtle sounds. Now, by this, when I refer to subtle sounds, I'm actually giving the clear explanation that it is not physical. That means that it is subtle. In the same way that you close your eyes and you see shapes and colors and all kinds of geometric patterns, whatever that is that you're seeing, think about it logically. It's not physical, because if it was physical, it would be, you're looking at the back of your eyelids. So obviously, you're connecting with something that is of a superior dimension. It's the astral world, the astral dimension. So the same applies to the hearing, that there is a connection to the sense, because we're talking about senses now, the sight and then the hearing, which is astral. So how can that be? When people say, oh, this is ringing in the ears tinnitus, well, I'm not going to give any medical advice or explanation from a medical perspective, as I stated, but I actually was teaching the meditations that I use using the nada to somebody, and this woman was an expert in hearing. It was actually her profession. She would test people's hearing. That was her profession. So she had often people complaining about tinnitus, and she actually told me that this sound troubled people so much that they actually had the auditory nerves severed in their ear, which I can only imagine what that meant for their health and well-being, and also the operation, etc. But the next thing she told me was the most amazing thing that I heard, is that she told me that there was a case where this person who had had this operation, at least one that I personally know of, that after they had the auditory nerve severed in their ear, they could still hear the sound, the ringing. So what does that tell you? Now, medical explanations, whatever, I'm not interested in giving that. From the perspective of yoga, we would say that ringing in the ear is not a physical sensation. Now, I want to make that clear because I'm not going to give any medical opinion about it. But this was a confirmation that, and it may not be for everybody, but like let's just use it as an example, that this subtle sound is an astral sound, which means that it is having a frequency, it's having a resonance, and it's very, very refined. If you are listening to something on a radio, which I know not many people listen to radio anymore, but if you are listening to, say, deep house, and then you would change that to some sort of ambient chill out sound, you would notice the frequency shift. Or you'd go to listen to classical music, or you'd go to listen to hip hop or something like, you'd notice it in this physical reality. But you would not necessarily notice the change of the pitch in the astral world, because the astral shift is very subtle when it comes to the subtle sounds, when it comes to the nada. So this means that this sound is bringing with it frequency, and this conversation is important for the awakening process and the awakening community, because it means that with this sound that people are more and more tuning into, it means the first thing it means is people are becoming more and more aware of the astral world consciously. We're all connecting with the astral plane when we sleep, and we all have this connection to the astral body, even if we're not able to perceive it consciously. But when this is occurring, when this perception of this subtle sound is occurring, it means that there is now a more integrated, more conscious resonance or conscious experience of the subtle worlds, which is a big leap in consciousness. Now, maybe not everybody hears it, maybe people hear it from time to time, I'll come to. But in the yogic understanding of it, this is not a bad thing at all. It's in fact a very desired thing. It's something that people want to connect to, want to amplify actually through the meditation techniques that I've been using for over 20 years. So the thing to understand is that people are experiencing the change of the frequency is very subtle, but when it pops, it means that like you've tuned right into the station, and that can last for 10, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And it's a spontaneous thing actually a lot of the time. The thing to know is that the clearer the sound, the more you are tuned in to that high vibration of energy, the purest form of energy. Now, over the years of teaching this at various retreats, people have said everything to me. They said it sounds like the back of a fridge, it sounds like a conch shell, sounds like the ringing. That's the most common one. And basically it is this idea of tuning in to a frequency. So you would use different meditation techniques, which I won't go into now, but to connect with these different vibrations of energy, whether one is courage, or one is unconditional love, or one is knowledge, or one is compassion. They're different frequencies of energy. Willpower is very different to intuition or something like this. So the frequency of the energy is different. So the sound, therefore, automatically is different. So this is part of the awakening process, is to actually become more coherent and move away from these fractured teachings, which often is basically just spiritual entertainment, and to get aligned with the pure, true wisdom teachings, the true power. So this amplifies the way of being, the connection to these states of consciousness, and not dabble in various forms of pseudo-spirituality or even just simply intellectual speculation. So what I'm saying here now is that these subtle sounds are basically considered to be the mystical sound of the heart, this nada. So they're described in Garanda Samhita as, and I'm talking about the ringing now, as crickets, as the lute, which is an ancient string instrument, as thunder, as drum, as a beetle, bells, gongs, trumpets, kettle drums. And finally, the last one is actually the anahata sound, which is the purest, which is the essence, which is the highest frequency sound, which comes from the heart. So this anahata in Sanskrit means unstruck. It means indestructible. So it is referring to a quality of the soul, because Anahata is Anahata chakra. It is the heart chakra, in name given in Sanskrit. So this is significant because it shows a very high frequency. It shows a high resonance. So these wisdom teachings, they have with it an inherent power. They have with it a timeless wisdom. They have something of the quality of knowledge that connects to eternal understanding, that transcends time. It's not a trend. It's not something that's trending in the last 18 months, 2 years. It is actually a timeless aspect, and that's what the wisdom teachings bring with it. So many people, for example, connect with these bowls, and they use these bowls. Now, the significance is this, is that if I can create a resonance for the heart physically, then this bowl is the closest that we can replicate to this frequency of the heart, but it's never going to completely match it, because these subtle sounds are astral sounds. So and this nada, it has no beginning, it has no end. It is eternal. And it's so powerful that there's even a technique in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which is the path of Kashmir Shaivism, which is considered to be one of the most elevated spiritual traditions that is accessible and available on this planet. And even that is becoming pretty extinct, really, in terms of its accessibility and who's teaching it and where and so on today, is to connect with the nada, to fuse with it, to become one with it. So it's a superior state because you're automatically connecting with the astral. It's transcending the physical limitations. Not that the physical limitations are bad or wrong. It's just that it's a superior, it's a fast path for transformation. It's a fast path for evolution, fast path for awakening. And it's actually a very positive sign that there is so much information, and people, I've seen a lot on social media and so on, asking about these ringing in the ear. What exactly is it? So I hope that's been of some use, because we are entering times now that the subtle energy is becoming more accessible at a higher frequency, more often and stronger and continuously, and it is part of this paradigm shift. And if we can access the wisdom of some of these wisdom traditions such as yoga, then, and there are others, there are other techniques and other paths, it's not the only path, then we can accelerate the process both individually and at a collective level. And this will ultimately usher in the new paradigm and accelerate the planetary awakening. So I hope that this was of some help for you and of some insight. So thanks for watching. If you're watching this, you are the shift.